What's going on, everybody? It's Temptation, and welcome. If you're looking for a Dxtory tutorial, you come to the right place. Um, I'm just going to be doing this tutorial, kind of getting real in depth with it, because I know a lot of people want to get out of Fraps and they want to get a good recording program, but they don't necessarily know how to work these new programs that are out. So Dxtory is one of them, and it's one of my favorites. I've used Fraps and Xfire and all the things in the past, but Dxtory is probably the best thing you can do. Just a general overview of the application. It's pretty simple. You got your regular layout. You've got some tabs up here and your profiles for your different games and things up at the top. And then you got your exit buttons, and then you got some tools down here which will come into play a little bit later in the tutorial. So first tab is really nothing. It just tells you what applications you have open that you can record. The second tab, this is going to allow you to select your position for your video overlay for the application, and then it's also going to let you choose your colors and what you want it to display, if at all. You can also turn it off. The next tab, pretty self-explanatory as well, is the folders tab. We're using the default setting here. I've got it set up to just record my record into my YouTube hard drive. I suggest, if you're going to be recording gameplay, to go ahead and record to a separate hard drive. That's going to give you the best results. Okay, so, and then also you can go into a profile here. Let's go to Battlefield 3, and you'll notice I unchecked default setting and made my own folder for Battlefield 3. Also down at the bottom, you can select your screenshot folder if you'd like to take screenshots and save them. Now over here on the left, you'll see a benchmark button. You can click that and run this benchmark, and it'll set your hard drive write speed. Right now we're getting like 120, 113 now. And it'll set that for you there, so it'll get rid of some lag issues and things like that if your video is writing too much. Next, hotkey tab, pretty self-explanatory. You guys can figure that out on your own, I would hope. And here's where it kind of gets fun, is the movie tab. This is what we're using this application for. The main reason people buy this application is to record things, so that's exactly what we're going to do. So here we go. Here's the movie settings. I've got everything pretty much set up on a universal scale here. But you can do this on a per game basis or a per application basis as well. So I use the default setting. It's my default setting, so it's not completely default. But here, down here, you can choose your video codec that you want to record with. There are many codecs you can use. You can even use the Fraps codec if you like. And there's many more you can download too, Cinepack, anything like that. You can use those, but Dxtory video codec, probably the most optimized one out of all of them. Some of them are pretty laggy. I find the Dxtory codec to be the best. Now if you go into this little show configuration dialog box button, you'll pop up this little window right here. Now this is going to be your settings for the codec, and some of the other codecs have more advanced settings, but this one doesn't really, and this is, I find, really all you need. The best recording quality is going to come from True Quality, but that's going to require a really fast hard drive, most likely an SSD, and a lot of space. Those are very big files and very high bit rates, and you're not going to be able to get that with a regular setup. What I use is I use medium quality. You can't really tell a difference once you render and export to YouTube. You're not going to notice a difference between hardly any of these. I just do medium just to be safe, because when it does compress, it's going to compress down and lose a little bit more quality than you're doing here. Now, if you're recording or editing in Vegas or anything else, you can go ahead and check the compress option, but if you're not, if you're recording in Premiere Pro, you're going to want to uncheck that, because Premiere Pro won't accept your video files if you check that button. So don't check that if you're using Premiere. So moving on from that, over here you can clip your screen, pretty useless unless you have like a watermark or something from a game on the screen and you don't want people to see that, or a username or something down in the corner. You can go ahead and crop that off. Here you set your margins. Again, not really a useful thing unless you're playing like a game that's full screen, but it's actually just really small in the window, things like that. Over here, you can select your frame rate to record at. Right now I record at 29.97 since that's what YouTube plays at, but you can record up to 120 frames a second, and I think you can actually type. So you could record at, let's see if it'll do 150. Yeah, you could do, can't do 500, can't do 250. You could do 150. You could do that. But I just do 29.97. That's the easiest thing to do, in my opinion. And with this, you can also record in that 29.97 frames a second while you're playing your game at 60 frames or higher. So your video frame rate is dependent not on your recording frame rate like it is with Fraps. Now here, these output boxes. This is where we get to this little setting down here. So you have 4 different Dxtory outputs, and you can select different presets for this. This output number 1 is what I use for live streaming, 1280 by 720, 29.97 frames a second. Pretty easy. And to live stream with this, you just check direct show output. That'll output it to all of these. And you just select one in your application that you're using to stream. If you want a file, if you want something that you can use to edit, then you're going to check file output. That's checked by default, and direct show is not. If you want to do both, you can check both. It's just going to put a lot of drain on your system. So file output, and then file format. You can export as AVI or RAWCAP. RAWCAP is going to use a little less resources from your system, and then after you record in RAWCAP, you're going to have to go an extra step by using the converter, adding your clips, and converting them to AVI. So you're doing double the work, but you might see a little bit better performance in the game if you're using RAWCAP. Include your mouse cursor, yeah. Synchronize video FPS. What this is going to do is it's going to make it like Fraps. It's going to make it to where you record at 30 and play at 30 frames a second. So most people, you're not going to want to check that unless you have some problems. And the last thing on the movie page is scaling. So what you can do here, my full screen resolution of my monitor is 1080p, but I record at 720p. So what you can do here is you can scale it to a percent. So if I want to record at 1080, I do that. If I don't, if I want to record at 720 or any other resolution, you can type it in here, record that movie file at that resolution while still playing at 1080p. Probably one of the best features of this program is being able to do that. Okay. Here's some audio settings. These are really not to be messed with. The only thing you're going to be able to really do, unless you're an audiophile and you know all about this kind of stuff, is just add and remove different sounds. So my first setup, I have my headset, and you can record from any device on your computer that's plugged in or that's built in to your system. And then you can select your codec and format. I don't mess with that simply because it's just you could mess up your audio severely if you mess with that, so I don't do that. Then you can add another one up here, up to 8 audio streams, and these are separate streams. So when you import them into Vegas or any other recording program, it's going to show up separately, unlike Fraps, where it's all in the same stream and you can't individually adjust your audio. With this, you can adjust gains and things like that on the fly in your editing, which makes it that much easier for live comms as well. So on my second setting, I've got my microphone, and the volume you can see here is set to 53, which it should be a little higher. Oh, but that's adjusting my Camtasia as well. So we will just forget about that for now. Okay, so that's basically all you got to do for the audio. You can add as many streams as you want. Keep in mind, if you are exporting and tend to edit in Premiere Pro, you're going to need to export your additional audio streams through Windows or through another program to get those audio streams into Premiere. That's a Premiere issue. It's not a Dxtory issue. Okay, here you get your screenshot settings. It's the exact same thing as the video settings. And these settings right here, you can select some different things here. A lot of these are just to make sure that you're not messing up anything. If something's wrong with your game when you're recording, you can check some of these and make sure that it's not your computer. So a lot of these are just kind of troubleshooting checkboxes. And then you can select your processing threads. One is really sufficient unless you're doing 1080p at really high frame rates. You're not going to need more than one processing thread. And limit video FPS, that's just VSync. If you want to do that, you can, but there's really no point in that. Everything else, well, there is nothing else. So that's that's really about it. It looks a lot more difficult than it is, but once you have your video settings set up, then I think most people are good. Dxtory runs about $50. It's about $10 more than Fraps, but it's definitely worth it. And the license is unlimited. You get free updates and everything from the developer. So be sure to check it out, guys. I hope this tutorial helped you guys. And if you'd like to see more tutorials in the future, please do let me know. But for now, guys, my name is Temptation, and I'll see you guys soon.